called Boaz, who's been very protective to both these women and provided for them since they come across to this land. And we pick up the story in chapter 3, where Naomi works out a plan for her daughter-in-law, Ruth, to follow, so that they might become closer together, Ruth and Boaz. Really a matchmaker, really. Naomi plays that part. Naomi has a duty to provide for Ruth and for her future, and she thinks that Boaz has a big part to play in this meeting their need. Naomi is knowledgeable, a wise woman, and she knows Boaz's habits and his routines. And she tells this story to Ruth, a plan of action to go over and get ready, to lay by his side, so that when he wakes up, she finds him there. She knows that Boaz will be by the barley crops, guarding them for protection from thieves at night time. And she draws up this plan of action in verse 5. And then Ruth says in verse 5, "I will do whatever you say," Ruth answered. So she puts her best clothes on. She washes and puts her most smelly perfume on to make her beautiful. And she goes over and she waits in the sidelines where Boaz has his meal and drinks a bit. Maybe he drinks a bit too much, we don't know that, but we read into the story. But we read that it's a risky thing to do for a young woman to go over amongst men. Many people might imagine that she might be a woman of ill dispute, a prostitute. Many women, maybe women in those days, to get by, sold their bodies to make money. And Ruth wanted to make sure that she wasn't known for that. So she washes herself and she puts her best clothes on and she joins Boaz when he retires to sleep. Verse 7 talks about Boaz being very content and happy with life, and he retires to bed. Something wakes him up in the night and he stirs himself and he wakes up and he has a mighty shock. He sees this woman at the bottom of his bed. He might not recognize her because it's dark. And he says, "Who are you? Who are you?" And Ruth replies with some strong and direct words. She doesn't mince her words. "I'm your servant Ruth," she says. "Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a kinsman redeemer." And we said last week that, and it came up in Wendy's reading, translation, a kinsman redeemer is something like a guardian, someone who's given responsibility for children if their parents die young, and bring them up and look after them and provide for them. And Boaz is such a man. But Ruth goes even further than what Naomi says, because some commentators say reading into Ruth's words is really spread your garment was equivalent to a proposing marriage to Boaz, saying, "Marry me." Very appropriate in leap year, where women can take the initiative on the 29th of this month and propose to those slow men that don't pop the question. But she says, "I'm your servant Ruth. Spread the garment over me, since you are a kinsman redeemer." I wonder if Ruth went further than the instructions laid down by her mother-in-law. She might have been impetuous, very young person, are very keen to get things done. They get frustrated with us Odies that are so slow. They want things done now, today. And Ruth might be such character like that. She wants the solution to be sorted. She wants Boaz to make a good decision. Boaz is taken back by her surprise. He's flattered in one way, because he says in verse 11, "I don't know why you didn't go after younger men, much more beautiful than me." What do you see in me? He feels flattered by her character and her quality, that he knows that she's a woman of good character, how she stayed by Naomi, and he really values her friendship. He knows that she's good material. Very keen he is to meet her request. He's a man who can be trusted, and Naomi said that at the end of chapter 2. This man is a good character. He won't let us down. But he is honest as well as being true. He says, yes, I am the kinsman redeemer, but there's someone closer in our family than me, and he should have your first call of loyalty to take you on board. So we're talk to him tomorrow morning and see what he decides. If he decides yes, then you go with him. But if he will not, I will stand in the gap. I will provide for you. I will be your kinsman redeemer. We see that Ruth is concerned not to bring shame upon Boaz, even though she was enthusiastic and she was bold in her request.